I'm Eric Loy, and welcome to Eric Loy Interviews. On this podcast, we talk with folks from the VTuber community on their channels, their talents, their stories, where they come from, and their plans for the future. We are joined by Pixel. Hi.
Hi.
Appreciate you coming on. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Pixel. I'm an Android VTuber, just kind of doing my thing.
When did you get started?
Oh gosh, as this version of myself about 2 years ago, but I've been off and on creating content for a little bit longer than that.
You wanted to get on and do something, and now you finally come around to the VTuber scene.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd done a lot of like face cam stuff before, and there was always just like I hated having to see myself all the time and like have to like think about if I was wearing clothes or not, and like what I was wearing, how I was looking. So now I don't have to worry about it.
And we call that old age around here. Do I really have to wear?
I'm aware.
Do I really have to wear clothes today, Mama? Yeah, okay, fine. But the I can understand that, and it's what's the difference for you? I mean, obviously there's people to interact with a little more as a VTuber. Has that been easy for you?
Yeah, I think at first it was a little bit intimidating to try to reach out to people because I didn't know anything about the culture. I wasn't someone who really followed like a lot of the larger VTubers. But once you kind of put yourself out there, introduce yourself a few times, you eventually find like a good group that you stick with, and now I'm glad for the people I've met now.
Yeah. And was it easy for you to make the transition?
Um, Easy on my end, yeah, I guess. It was just like a financial thing, really, because I was just paying for art and
Right.
trying to figure out how to set it all up and, all that stuff. So getting stuff set up was a little bit of a challenge, but it was stuff that I like doing anyway, mostly is figuring that stuff out. So it was pretty easy.
Mm. So what type of content were you putting on before you did the VTuber stuff?
Oh gosh, a lot of stuff. I went to film school, so I was always kind of making short films or like
Right.
some sketch content, or I also make music, so I was doing music videos.
Mm.
I was kind of bouncing everywhere and just kind of throwing a bunch of spaghetti at the wall, kind of thing.
Yeah. Have you been able to continue with the music things now that you've doing the VTuber thing?
I do. I don't post as much as I probably should. I do have like a separate kind of music entity that I post as that's not necessarily like linked to my VTube stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm kind of in the process of finding a way to mesh those two together and find like a good middle ground.
Yeah. It has been a good way, VTubing has, for some people who have had really good voices or instrumentalists to kind of get known a little bit anyway, and get over that hump of singing in the shower and singing for people, and it does make a big difference for them. It's for you. You already had that experience before you got on VTubing.
Yeah, I had, especially when I'm used to kind of showing projects a lot because I was constantly in school just making projects and showing it. I was kind of already used to one, putting projects out there for people to see, and two, having criticism of it. So I think that kind of stuff doesn't really bother me anymore. So
It isn't. It is tough getting over that mountain of doing something and then showing it to other people. Uh,
yes.
yeah, it does make a big difference. It does for me, and I know it does for some other folks. But early on, you were able to overcome that. Were you doing stage stuff as a young kid?
Oh gosh, I not extremely young. There was always a desire for me to be. I think there was like kind of like two sides to me, where one side of me really enjoys attention and the other side absolutely hates it. So I was always kind of doing things to make myself stick out, but then not liking the attention I got for it. Which then I ended up getting into theater in like high school era, but I never actually ended up doing anything on stage. I would just audition for things, not take any roles if they were offered to me, and then usually work like behind the scenes.
That's a very interesting way to get through drama school. Drama
It,
club.
it's very interesting.
But it did get you kind of in the general pathway for the editing. And when you
Yes.
talk the film editing, are we talking like motion picture film editing and that sort of thing? Actual cut and splice type stuff.
I did start off. So when I started off, I was working on gosh, these like those little like mini DV tapes,
Uh-huh.
and we had to like play back, record on the tapes, edit the actual tapes, stuff like that.
Hmm.
So I was doing it a little bit before digital came out, and I did have a chance to edit reel on 33 millimeter or something like that in college, which
Oh,
is a fun time.
people these days don't even know.
Oh no, and that stuff is expensive, real
Yeah,
expensive.
yeah. When I did a class back in the '80s for videotape editing, and that editing was like 3.5 inch tape, and the if you cut that incorrectly, you lost it because there wasn't anything you could do about it. And then with audio tape for a long time, it was the same way. Digital, you can still mess up good on the digital, but it's not quite as disastrous as that's what the old leaving stuff on the cutting room floor was all about. The actual
Oh
cut it.
yeah.
And, did you find that easy to get into after your behind the scenes work?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I also grew up when kind of, I remember like when YouTube came out and like when the first like big videos were out, and like growing up in kind of the start of the digital video era. It was like every kid my age was like, "Oh, I want to do that," because it
Mm-hmm.
seemed like a fun thing to do. So once I had the opportunity to start taking video production courses, I immediately was like, "Yes, this
Yeah.
is it."
So now that you're a pro at this and you know what's going on, when you play a video game, do you notice bad editing, especially in like the cutscenes?
Oh gosh. Um, I think it would have to be. It depends on how immersed I am in the game,
Hmm.
and it depends on. I mean, I think it has to be pretty bad for me to really point it out. There are definitely. I feel like it's more common for me to hear audio things than it is for me to visually see stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's a very good question. I haven't even thought about that. I think I just
Yeah.
kind of turn that part of my brain off when I'm playing games usually.
Good. Because for me doing sports all those years on the radio and all this stuff, I still watch a sporting event and do the play-by-play in my head. That's just like,
Hmm.
no, I just want to watch the game. Um, imagine some. I would imagine that somebody who's done it would watch a film or a video or something. See, well, they really could have done this better. They could have done this better, and kind of sometimes miss what's going on the film itself. Um,
That definitely happens while I'm watching movies. My fiance sometimes does not like me trying to break down a movie while we're watching it.
well, this 3D effect really isn't a 3D effect. No, just shut up. I'm watching the movie.
Hmm.
But as far as video games go, did you ever move on to like animation or video game type animation when you were learning the trade?
Um, yeah, I did like some hand-drawn like 2D animation for a while, when kind of Flash was popular
Mm.
and people were kind of doing that a lot. I that was also part of one of my classes, I think, and made like a very simple animations of like someone driving a car down or like the ball bouncing up and down.
Right.
All of the basic stuff. I can do the basics, but anything after that was a entirely new skill set that I was um, tried it once, realized I was not naturally talented at that, and said I could focus my efforts elsewhere.
That's right. That was like me in track. Uh, I good. I tried to run one time and I knew I couldn't do it very well, so I stopped. And just not going to do it anymore. The the that type of experience already behind the scenes, for the mostly behind the scenes. Did that help you as you became a content creator?
I think it I think it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, maybe.
Yeah.
I think I it helps in the way that like I know how if I how do I word it? If I wanted to, I could treat this like a business, and I know how to make that work in a way.
Hmm.
But it's not really, it's supposed to be a hobby where I'm supposed to just enjoy myself, and that won't lead to like growth in the same way.
Hmm.
So I tried to kind of balance that and figure out how much do I want to treat this like a job and how much do I want to treat it like just me having fun.
Hmm. I bet that every once in a while you see somebody with a different set of equipment, and you're like, oh, that would be really cool. Have that and work it. Does it ever really completely leave you once you're on the stream? The um, want to change something up and work on it technically.
I know I don't think you can ever get rid of that. That's always going to be there.
That's that's unfortunately the truth with that type of stuff. But yeah, obviously you've been able to enjoy yourself while on the stream because otherwise you still wouldn't be doing it after this time. What do you like best about streaming with an avatar?
I think I most like having honestly just like the people I interact with. This It's also kind of why I wasn't super into streaming when I was doing it in my face cam. I feel like I just wasn't interacting with as many people. Um, since I've kind of created this account and been streaming on it, almost all of my streams are collaboration streams with other people
Mhm.
and people that I wouldn't have otherwise had the chance to meet. I love meeting new people. I love talking to people, which as someone who is typically very introverted, is hard to do in person for me.
Mhm.
So having this kind of controlled outlet where I am able to feel comfortable enough to talk to new people, hang out with them, and get to explore my more extroverted side has been an amazing chance for me.
Yeah, it's good to see that you're able to have that outlet. Has that helped you off of the internet? Have you become a little bit more outgoing as a person?
I would like to say yes. I think the answer is probably yes. Now you kind of like force yourself. It's like a gateway, right? Like you're like training yourself for
Right.
doing it for, the real life now.
Yeah.
And I think it has helped me a decent amount. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And again, a lot of folks, you get you talk to folks who are starting, and some of them are introverts, some of them are extroverts, some of them in between. Kind of like, or some people are just like you said, you'd like to do it, but you don't really want the attention from it.
Yep.
That's that you kind of it kind of falls in perfectly for you though this way because you get to do it, but it's not your face out there doing it.
Yes, I think having that separation is a big comfort, knowing that I can kind of always pull back whenever I want to.
Yeah. Yeah. So how much of a pixel is the person behind pixel?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know a lot of different VTubers tend to have certain characters with like kind of character traits and personas that they might play up when they're on stream, which I think is very fun. But it's not something I've ever really been good at. So I mean, if you're tuning into anything I make, it is 100% just me.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's cool. That's the easiest thing to play
exactly.
once you get used to it. And how long did it take for you to get used to having an avatar out there, rather than face cam or just not having a cam on at all?
It was definitely really weird at first, especially like kind of learning, I guess, the etiquette along with it.
Mm,
There's a lot of like people share their avatars with each other and try to like network that way. And for me, that felt very awkward at first. And trying to introduce yourself, but also not feeling like intrusive or weird when you're like throwing your image out there and being like, look at me, this is me.
yeah, that's something that you don't get on most jobs, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I imagine it does. But once you get some people who do know you, and now that you've gotten to network a little bit, especially with your collaborations, has that become easier for you?
Oh, absolutely. I think now I just don't even give it a second thought. I think at first like you're very afraid of that kind of I guess just rejection or what's the worst that can happen is people just ignore you or they say no or something like that,
Hmm.
which is kind of a lesson I already learned when I was in like, doing film and working behind the scenes and stuff like that. So it's a lesson I relearned quicker this time and was like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter. I can just do me.
Yeah, yeah, and they're coming back for you, and
Yes.
being given what you said about wanting to do things and not necessarily get a lot of attention for it. How does that feel when people come back because they're coming back for you and not necessarily what you're doing?
Um, I think that's led to some. I, I love it. I love my regulars that come in. It's always surprising to me in a way. I'm like, why are you here still? It's always such a weird thing, and especially like if people make me like fan art or people leave like very nice comments. It feels so surprising to me that like my first thought in my head is, well, this has to be fake. There's no way somebody's actually saying this. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, it's it's a it's something to hear. I mean, it's something to realize that the people all over the world and your potential audience is anybody that has a device, which is how many billion people around the entire planet. And it could be somebody who's on the other side of the planet who wants to stay up late and watch what Pixel is up to.
Yeah, I think a lot of my regulars actually are international viewers, which is something that I never really anticipated either.
Well, it's pretty amazing when you think about it, and this is something you could do without leaving home.
That's why I love it.
That's all of us like that, especially those of us who
Hmm.
lived in the '80s. And talking to somebody in the Philippines would have cost $10 zillion back in the '80s,
Oh gosh, yeah.
and sounded terribly. Thanks, Ma Bell. And probably had to bounce it off a satellite, so you'd have so many seconds delay between the answers and questions. Oh, it'd be terrible. But I'm glad that a lot of folks are getting that opportunity now, such as yourself. So, who are have you've gotten obviously a list of folks that you're pretty comfortable with the collaboration. How did you find them?
A lot of trial and error. There's a lot of places on Twitter and on other social medias where if you just kind of interject yourself into a conversation and start talking, you might find someone that is fun.
Hmm.
Or, you post a bunch of funny memes and someone might start liking them and then you message them. I joined like a bunch of random collabs and some of them went well and some of them didn't. And I did that a bunch of times until I found a group of people that I felt really good about.
And the ones that didn't go so well, was it just a question of personalities not quite fitting, or were they just handling it in a way that you didn't appreciate?
I never had anyone that I like didn't like. It was mostly just like a personality thing. Either we do different things or I
Mm,
didn't think that like I'm not like an easy person to talk to, I would say in general. So it
that's
takes a certain type of person to be able to like fully engage with me. So
uh, well, we haven't had any problem. I think this is going really well. I think
I,
it's I
that just shows how
appreciate
skilled
them.
you are.
Well, I don't know about that. They just said I keep yapping until somebody interrupts me. That's the best way. They say, "Shut up! It's my turn to talk." Um, this has obviously kind of fit you like a glove, hasn't it? After having the background that you had and doing it online for a little bit, this seems to be right in your wheelhouse.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is something that I put on my resume, like not even joking. I've put some of the projects I've done onto like my reels or into things that have gotten me real work.
Hmm. Well, I don't see why not. It does take technical skill, and it does take
Hmm.
people skills that maybe being a bit of an introvert you didn't know you had.
I would still question it.
Well, I mean, you could you can work from home anyway. You don't need to have too
Oh,
many
I would
people
love that.
skills. The What are you doing right now on stream? What games you're into at the moment?
Yeah, so every Sunday I do a collaboration stream with a extremely good friend of mine, Snake. We are playing Pokemon together,
Mm,
playing Pokemon fan games. I'm hugely into Pokemon, so even before that, I was doing once a week at least Pokemon all the time.
yeah.
Um, On top of that, I'm just started a stream collaboration with my fiance Ether, and I'm teaching them how to play Fire Emblem. So we're doing that once a week,
Mm,
and then probably like another time if I have chance, I do pixel art, where my name comes from. I also do a lot of pixel art. So yeah.
yeah. So, but is that something that you've enjoyed doing? Is it something that you picked up along the way, or have you been artistry type stuff for a long time now?
I think I was always doing a bunch of art related things ever since I was a kid. My mom was very big into trying to teach me how to paint when I was a little kid. I'm not really sure why, but I always had easels and paints and stuff like that. Growing up, I did a lot of the art classes, and I loved art, but I never found myself having the ability to motivate myself to progress past a certain point of skill.
Mm.
It wasn't until my friend was making a video game and needed people to help out with making art for it. And he was like, "Do you think you could learn pixel art?" I said, "Well, maybe I could make some basic stuff." So I bought a book and started reading about it. And it kind of picked up for me in a way that traditional art didn't.
That's something. By the way, I also do pixel art. My how I do you do music, you do pixel art, you do editing, you do VTubing. Um, that's a pretty talented person that you're in there. I mean,
Yeah, jack of all trades, but a master of none.
yes. Well, I mean, it's good to see that you have managed to incorporate so many of the things that you enjoy into VTubing, and obviously you're enjoying yourself. Is there some big goal that you want to do with your channel?
Wow, that's a good question. It's something that I've recently been thinking about because I kind of went into this with not really any expectations or goals, which I think is why I've been able to do it so long is because if I set goals and don't make them, it's an easy way to disappoint yourself and an easy way to become discouraged.
Yeah.
But also having healthy goals, I think is a great way to motivate yourself. So trying to figure out what kind of goals I want has been a little bit of a thought process. I think right now I'm heading towards YouTube partner. I'm about halfway there.
Cool.
And once I hit that, we'll see what the next goal is.
Has it been? Have you been creating um, different YouTube content than what you've been streaming?
A little bit, yes. And there is some more in the works. So I have uploaded my music there. People can listen to my music on YouTube. They can also see I open Pokemon cards on there.
Hmm.
And coming soon is some tutorials. I'm going to start teaching people how to edit, so that other VTubers that don't necessarily have the same background that I do can edit their own clips and stuff like
Brilliant. I mean, that's it. Yeah. Again, it seems like this is really, I don't know if I'm using the right phrase. You've been born at the right time. I
that.
mean, the technology is as almost like it was made to serve you. Like, oh, here, there's this that you can learn and incorporate into it. Is there anything that you change about what you're doing right now on the internet?
Is there anything I'd change right now? Oh
Yeah.
man. Um, I wish that I had more time to put in towards it, I guess. I
Yeah.
would put more time into not just streaming, but creating like standalone YouTube content probably.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I love streaming, I think like the thing that I always imagined myself doing and having fun with is editing, and streaming doesn't really involve much editing.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to use that more would be great.
Well, I think that we're going to be seeing a lot of good things from you, and we already have. More to come. Have you got any big events coming up on the channel?
Is it funny you mentioned that we just had my birthday stream on the 17th. I did my first kind of longer stream. We were doing, I think, 12 hours we did straight. There was a
Oy.
few times my internet crashed, but we did that. It was great to see a bunch of people coming in, and it's got me thinking that I should plan some more events coming up. So yeah,
Well, don't do the 24 hour.
I've been tempted. I've been tempted. I can't lie.
I've seen I've seen people do the 24 in about hour 20. They're just basically they're not playing a game. They're just kind of staring into the camera.
That was kind of happening with 12 hours, and then I had that kind of resurgence where like
Yeah.
my last few hours I actually felt pretty good, and I was like, oh, I think I could go a lot longer, and then I turned off stream and I was out.
Well, I wish you all the best of luck, and I thank you for coming on. It's great to meet you, and it's great to see that you're enjoying yourself and doing what you like on here and helping other people out as well soon with your tutorials. Great way to use it, and I'm glad that you're getting the opportunity and the ability to use all this technology that's available to us. We'll get you on again here soon when you get some of those big things planned, and we'll update everybody.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Eric Loy Interviews. Join us again next time when we talk to another member of the always interesting VTuber community.